Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Madcapper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to do another of our series of I built them so you don't have to. And I want to talk about a champion who's part of the old guard, who's been around for a while. She might be overlooked or maybe for a good reason. It is Luthiea. She is a Force Affinity epic attack-based champion from the High Elves, and her kit is something that looks good on the outset. Let's find out whether or not it is. First thing we want to do is talk about it. When we talk about this, we got HP at 14,370, attack 1277, defense 1068, and speed 93. Speed's a little bit low. It's low end for being able to build out champions. Her defense is reasonably high for an attack-based champion, which does kind of help you out when you're trying to build out a team for the clan boss. Her attack, however, is pretty low. She has good damage modifiers, which we will kind of see in a little bit here. But I feel like the starting attack level, you've got 14 and 1500s in the epic level, so it is a little bit low. And the HP is probably where it normally is for attack-based champion. It can always be higher. It would always be easier if it was higher, but not an unreasonable starting position. Her kit, the aura, is probably the greatest part about her kit, and that is a 33% ally crit rate in all dungeons. It is a helpful starting point for anyone who's trying to gear champions, and you may not have the good gear that you might have in the late game when you're trying to progress through the early and mid games. This is going to help you build out your champions because you don't need to build them to 100%. Her A3 is a decreased speed AoE, which is also a reasonably hard-hitting nuke. It can go up to 100% chance and has a 30% speed decrease. No turn meter reduction on it, but very good for dungeons still because it does do an overall decreased speed on enemy waves. Also helpful in faction wars. Her A2 is an ice shot that is bookable down to a 3-turn, 25% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn, attacking 3 times at random. And her A1 is attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. As usual, we take all our champions through the runs. So I'm going to take her through the Fire Knight dungeon, the Dragon dungeon. I'm going to put her in the Clan Boss. I'm also going to show you the same team with Frozen Banshee, so you have a comparison of what team I would put of my roster versus what she can do with that same team. And we're going to skip campaign because, as usual, while I agree that she probably can do very well in if you pick like 11-3 or 11-6 or make a more suitable place for her to farm, frankly, if she can't farm 12-3, she's not going to be overly useful for you. And I can promise you that your starting champions are going to do better than her when farming 12-3 and working on your early food. So why don't we just jump right in and we'll meet you back in the Clan Boss. All right, rather than show you the Clan Boss runs, you know what they look like. I'm going to show you a screenshot. I ran these both today. The first one we're going to show you is of Frozen Banshee. This is going to give you a baseline. So this is what I was able to do with a team in full lifesteal with speed set gear. Not overly crazy gear, to be honest with you, but reasonably good, I would say. I will actually link in the description below each of the gear pieces that I used on these champions so that you have an idea of how I made this number, especially if you were like, holy, hey, that would really help me. I have those champions. I ran a 4-3, which means Sepulcher and Rosin were actually running at a 4-3 speed. Rosin was a nightmare to get there, but I was able to, and it actually worked out pretty well. As you can see, it did sacrifice some of his damage because I didn't give him crit rate gloves because I had to use so much for speed. So Bulwark actually did more damage, but you can see there, Frozen Banshee in the DPS poison slot, 23 million damage. Doing half the key all by herself. Pretty amazing damage. And the reason why we use a 4-3 is that way Rosin's A2 would be on a 3-turn cooldown effectively because he's taking an extra turn every 4 turns. And Sepulcher, same thing. Her block debuffs, when you run her at around 240, she was at 239 in this, and Rosin at 245, it allows Sepulcher to go right before AoE 2, which will block any debuff, whether it's the poison, accuracy, attack, or speed. So it'll work for all 4 types of things, and also blocks the stun. So it allows the team to function fairly well. This particular setup I didn't actually gear it properly. Frozen Banshee had lower HP than Bulwark, so she actually took the stun on several occasions. I also have Skull Crusher where he extends his chance to extend his buffs, which normally you don't want to do, but for the comp I normally use them in, it's actually very helpful. But what happened here is a couple times there was the buffs were on the wrong person, which is really great because Sepulcher could block anyone from getting stunned. So even though they took the damage, they weren't taking the stun, and you could still go as normal no matter which of the two hit it. Obviously, none of the force champions were getting hit. I didn't have to worry about that with Luthiea because she's a force affinity, so it was always going to be Bulwark. So Luthiea actually had two advantages over Frozen Banshee. One, she's a force affinity, which means it was a strong affinity against the clan boss. And two, Bulwark was always getting stunned, which was an extra opportunity to extend debuffs. And here's the damage she did. Honestly, pretty good damage, 11.7 million. She still did the most damage on the team. She still overall did a very great job at landing, especially about halfway through when Bulwark started doing his job and getting some extends on there. She was filling up the bar pretty good, but obviously, as you can see, 39 to 54, it's like less than half damage. So I would say that if you have Luthiea, obviously this is not where you're going to use her. Okay, so now we've re-geared Luthiea and we've geared her to a more centric kind of build you're going to want for something like the arena, specifically dungeons in this particular case, and I'll explain why we've geared her the way she has. The thing with Luthiea, if you have her and you're planning to take her 6-star, the most important thing to do is take care of that aura, which is a 33 ally crit rate, 33% increase. So what I've done is I've actually built around her crit damage while ignoring her crit rate to a degree. And what you'll see is, obviously, because math is cool, you've got a 67%, add the aura, and you've got a 100% crit rate with a 270% crit damage, 206 debuff accuracy, which is more than enough for dungeons. You've got a defense of 2k, so she's going to actually have more survivability than some of the attack-based champions out there. Her attack at 3200, would have loved more, but we work with what we have. HP, she's a glass cannon, 25k health. That's where she's going to be at. A little bit of a broken set, but we were able to take these pieces and remind me to give them back to my Royal Guard, or else my spider runs are going to be shitty. You know what? There's one more thing we can probably do here. This is a triple roll defense, which hurts my soul to take it off. But I feel like there is one that might be better. I feel like I have a triple roll. That's 183 better. Yeah, I think 247 better. Oh, because he's got the thing. So let's do this. No, you really have to remind me to put it back on there. So that gives her a good overall 3,500 attack. I feel like that's, if you're trying to do a crit damage build, that's probably the best you're going to get. So I haven't, obviously, I just built this. We're just going to take it into the dungeons, see what she can do, and see how she can improve the rest of your team. So there you go. Again, um, she's got good damage on it. Elaine has more damage, but you have to keep in mind that Elaine is hitting 2 AoEs on the waves, so she's doing a lot more spread damage. Luthiea only has the 1 AoE, which is a decreased speed, but the other one's only a 3 random. So when it got to the dragon, I would say that Luthiea was hitting harder on most of her abilities than Elaine because of single target. Once you get single target, Luthiea is a little bit better than Elaine. Overall, I mean, this team did really well. Yes, I have good gear. Yes, I have a reasonable, I wouldn't say a good Great Hall, but a reasonable Great Hall, which definitely helps me on this, but gives you an idea of what she can do. Okay, sorry, I have to re-record this. She did this once, and then the light came and blinded me, so I had to close the drape on my light on my window. But here it is. So again, we put Luthiea number 1. So what she's going to do is she's going to improve Cold Heart's crit rate, because we build crit Cold Hearts to be 70%, so that her A3 is 100. It just makes sense. But look how much damage she does now on her A2, because we've given that ability with that crit rate boost. It's a 15-second first round. Yes, the rest of the team's good, but this is the kind of team you bring into the Fire Knight, right? So my regular team is this team with Ethos and Lysandra lead. So it's not a huge amount of difference from what I have. What I'm basically doing is I'm taking a Void Legendary top tier damaging champion, and I'm replacing that champion with Luthiea. so you know, normally I get, you know, minute and a half runs. These runs are going to be a little bit longer, but not bad. Admittedly, she's even taking damage and actually shrugging it off pretty well. And I would say, if there's something I would say about her overall kit that's a bonus, is that she has a relatively high defense for an attack-based champion, which can be useful, right? Unfortunately, she used her A3 there instead of her A2. Oh god, the Heart Seeker. It's like they're trying to disappoint me. It's like I'm a father, and they're like, hey, what do you guys think if we piss Dad off by using all the wrong abilities? What do you think about that? Oh, that sounds good. And dead. This is one of the nightmares of this boss, but whatever. I'm fairly confident we'll be okay. Oh, you know what? Venus, you break my heart. I mean, I guess that's kind of your whole thing. That's your shtick. But just so you know, I don't like it. All right, let's get everyone up here. Now we're gonna start going. Now the boost, double attack. Use your A1, or I'm gonna hate you. There we go. All right, door is open, and now it's just a matter of time. So 28k unbuffed. We've got the debuff. There we go. Now we're running. Now we're cooking with gas. Actually, not a bad hit. Boom. 560k from Cold Heart. So, okay, so Luthiea, just as a point of reference, she just hit with 69,000 with her A1. Ethos hits about 90,000. So you're trading about 65% damage. There she got a couple hits, pretty good damage on all of them. Obviously Ethos is gonna hit better. Obviously that's his deal. That's his shtick. So, you know, the damage modifiers on her are not that bad. I mean, a lot of people are running 4-minute Fire Knight, 5-minute Fire Knight, and, you know, yes, this is an end game team, but there's nothing to say I can't switch out Lysandra for Allure. There's nothing to say I can't switch out Venus for Rosin, who would be arguably more free to play friendly because he is at least fusionable. All right, we're gonna fight this team again. Okay. Nice freeze. Got lots of good freezes there. We're going to debuff. We're going to taunt. She didn't get taunted though. That scares me. So we're going to just make sure she's nice and safe. Okay, so our A3. What we're looking is the damage on these two. These two are weak affinity. We're just hoping that they both crit. Boom. Both crit. But didn't kill her, unfortunately. That's a little bit of an unfortunate... Man, if you can't kill a one-shot an Arbiter when you've got the debuff up, I'm a little bit concerned about your overall ability, but we did win, so... you know, if I kept pushing her gear, if I put her in, like, my best gear, maybe... So again, not great damage, okay damage. I would say that her kit doesn't lend very well. It's too low a chance to land on the freeze. For the freeze to land, you need to have multiple rotations so that eventually it lands, and that screams waves early game. You're fighting early game. It's just an opportunity to freeze out a character, a champion on an enemy champion in the waves, a trash mob, whatever you want to call it. But there you go. There's a couple of arena hits for you. Final thoughts on Luthiea. Luthiea suffers from what a lot of champions that were created around the same time frame as her suffer from. She has a confused kit that tries to do too much in too many areas that is no longer needed with the breadth of champions we have in the game. If there were only 150, 200 champions, I get it. There are now 450 champions, and she's got too many different abilities that do too many different things, and none of them really synergize with each other. She has a great dungeon aura. She has arguably an A3 that's a really good dungeon thing. It decreases the speed. It's got a 100% chance to land. It's very nice when booked, and it does some good damage. But then her A2 screams arena. That's not a dungeon ability. Typically, you're looking for that kind of freeze, especially when it's 3 times at random. That's really an arena ability. And her A1 with a 5% poison, the only place 99% of the people will use her for that sort of ability is in the clan boss. The other problem is because she's got these 3 different abilities that don't synergize with each other, none of the abilities themselves do enough in the area they meant to be. This has a 50% chance to land 5% poison. That is not enough for the clan boss. Make this a 2 attack with the same percentages. Boom. She's good in the clan boss. She'll be good in dragons. She'll be good in the Fire Knight. And she can be a dungeon specialist as you replace her in the clan boss as you progress through the mid game. This here, not very useful. She's not an arena champion. She doesn't hit hard enough for a nuking position. Her aura is useless. And her A3 without a turn meter reduction or turn meter boost, also pretty much useless. So let's just move this to how is this going to be useful? Have it attack all enemies and have it bookable to 40 to 50%. Then at least when you're doing faction wars, when you're doing waves on, say, the dragon, she's going to have some general purpose usefulness out of her A2. Otherwise, you might as well just skip the A2 altogether, because a 25% chance on 3 times at random is nothing you're going to plan for. It is useless. I took her through 3-4 different arenas, never landed once with reasonable accuracy. It's not that it was resisted, it just never landed. Not a very good ability. Also, if we're talking about Wishlist, what I would do is I would make her dungeon specialist. I would give her 2 hit on her A1. I'd change that to 50%. I don't mind the 3 times at random, but all enemies, either or, 50% chance. Keep this the same, keep the aura the same. In a wish list, I would give her a little bit more attack, a little bit more speed, but we can't have everything we want, so I understand. But that would make her more generally useful for those early game players that pull her, that can build her in and help them progress from early into mid game. My final verdict on her is a soft build. That means most of you, you're probably going to skip on her. But for those of you who need dungeon help early game or need clan boss help early game, that you don't have a secondary poisoner, you don't have an extender, those sort of, like I use Bulwark, or if you don't have Frozen Banshee and you want a second champion, you can use Luthiea. She can be used in the clan boss very early on, and definitely she will help you through dungeons because of her amazing aura, and generally she hits really good. She's got a decent modifier. Fire Knight and Dragon especially, she's going to help you through. But the other dungeons in the early levels and when she's strong affinity, I think she can do some general usefulness for any of you out there. That's all I have. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have any other questions? Please leave them in the comments below. Please share this with your friends. Like and subscribe. I will be giving away my free-to-play account when I hit 1,000 subscribers. I've shown it off in several different streams. Also, I do stream every Monday night at about 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and every Thursday morning and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. I add streams around. Occasionally I have to swap it around because of work, but I do try to stream 3 times a week. So feel free to join me there, where I do account takeovers. We call it coffee and chill. It's just a good time to have a cup of coffee and connect talking about Raid. Thank you for joining me in this video. I appreciate you. Be kind to one another, practice social distancing, and I will see you in the next video.